Females do this a lot too, but
Oh my
they're a lot
goodness.
sneakier about it. They'll do something like put on a booty band and do 200 reps of leg waves.
Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's Linora. As you can see, I've got another interview happening, and today's video is how to work out after quarantine. Guys, I want you to say hello to my buddy here. This is Braden, all the way from Australia, and he's been a coach for 9 years. In fact, he's one of the senior coaches at Australian Strength Performance, and I'm sure you know about ASP. I've talked about that gym many times because that's where Ben, who I've done interviews with before, you can check us on the videos here. Go and watch those. But for today, I've got one of the senior coaches, and we're going to be talking on how to work out after quarantine. For that, Braden, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? It's exciting to get back into the gym. So.
Very excited. I mean, like, I have not touched a barbell for so long. My fingers are itching. How is it for you? We've already opened up the gyms here in Malaysia on the 15th of June, which is great, and we're slowly seeing people. How about yourself? You guys open in Australia 22nd June.
22nd, all back into it. So I know Ben's can't wait to get back into it. Just been, trying to do everything we can to keep active and keep moving. I've been playing a lot more basketball and just finding other ways to try and keep active, but I can't wait to get back in there and actually put some weight on the bar.
I'm gonna say, like, okay, what's the first exercise? What's the first exercise you've been itching to just do?
Ooh, okay, so for me, the one I've missed the most is deadlifts. So I've always come from a powerlifting background. I love deadlifts. But I think, to be honest, one of the first things I'm going to do is probably jump on the lat pull down. I want to get back into pull-ups, but I don't know if I can lift my body weight anymore. So I think lat pull down will be the way to get back there.
Oh, I so get you because that was the thing I went to. The first two things I touched when I entered into the gym. I was
Mm.
like, first, let's go touch the deadlift. I just want to see if I could even lift anything which is beyond 20 kg. Okay, so that was a good feeling. And then after that, I was like, let's proceed to the bar for a pull-up. Can I still do it? Oh, goodness. The minute I was able
Still
to
got
go
it.
up, yeah, I was like, okay, good. I can still lift my body weight. But yeah, I mean, the feeling of just touching something, not to say home workouts don't work, they definitely do work, but it's just so different. I mean, can maybe you can also just quickly tell your thoughts about home workouts and doing training at the gym, Brayden.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this has been a really interesting process for a lot of people in the fitness industry, because we get so caught in our habits, you know. I know for myself and a lot of coaches, we used to look at a lot of these exercises, kind of, the body weight exercises, whether it's push-ups or, various kind of handstand push-ups or like lunges. But when we get used to training in a gym, we tend to forget a lot of that. You have your handful of exercises that you really like, and they're generally, as a coach, they're generally the ones that you're doing yourself, and you're like, oh, I really like how these are changing my body. You're finding different ways to apply that to your client. But this has actually forced, I think, a lot of coaches and a lot of, athletes or just general population, gym goers, to actually experiment and get a little bit creative. And I know some people have loved that, and other people have, just done what they can to get through, and they can't wait to get back in the gym. But I think,
Yeah.
I know for myself, and I don't know if it's like this for you as well, it's a really good challenge, and it stimulates you to, go back to basics and think outside the box and work around your clients, whether it's milk crates or whatever they can lift. Like it forces us to be a little bit creative, and I think that is actually a bit of a good thing as well.
Yeah, it is, and it also makes me see actually where are the imbalances for my left side or my right side, and it made me also appreciate how much I get to go to the gym, where some people are doing home workouts. Once again, nothing wrong at all with home workouts, but it's truly a different experience, especially when you're handling progressive overload. You're just adding weights for to know how you're actually improving rather than using a band. You can't really tell if you are improving using the same band all the time or you try to make it harder. It's just totally different.
Well, we'll go into there's a couple of things I want to probably talk about today that will kind of touch on this, but I mean, home workouts are hard. Like, if you've been getting your programming from Ben as well, then like trying to do these exercises, like it's a whole different mindset between, jumping under a bench press or some dumbbells and doing, a hard set of 10 or 12.
Yeah.
But then you
Yeah.
go, once you can move, for me, I can move a decent amount of weight on the bench press. But if you ask me to go, okay, well, now I want you to do a set of push-ups and actually push yourself near failure, or,
Yeah.
actually push yourself on push-ups, and all of
Yeah.
a sudden, it burns. It's a completely different feeling to training in the gym. And I think
Yeah.
it's actually, in a lot of ways, it's a lot tougher. We kind of get stuck in our mold of, just prioritizing weight, and then you have to do a set of lunges at home to failure or something with not much weight. And all of a sudden you realize how tough that can actually be as well.
Okay, let's go straight to it, which is how to work out after quarantine. Things that we should keep in mind, because I know a lot of people are suddenly going, yes, the gyms are open, the Mecca is open, we need to go in and go beast mode. So before we do that, let's touch on a couple of things. So Brayden, what are the tips that you have for us?
Yeah, beautiful. So I think we kind of brainstormed a little bit and came up with kind of, I think, roughly 7 points, I think, that people should probably know and take aware of. The first ones are going to sound pretty simple, but with a lot of these things, it's how people actually apply it. It's one thing to know it, but it's another thing to actually to put it together and actually have a plan on that. So there's a couple of things at the end that I want to spend a little bit more time on. Just some practical takeaways that people can then kind of use that information to apply when they do actually get back into the gyms.
All right.
But I think the biggest one is you just need to have a plan to go into it.
Okay.
And I know you working with Ben, and I know for myself, like it's such a big priority for me to make sure that even before I step foot in the gym, I already have a pretty good idea of what my day is going to look like and what my weeks and even months are going to look like. Because I think that's a mistake that people might make, is where they're just so eager to get back into it that they don't actually stop to think about, how the next couple of weeks are gonna look.
Okay. So go in, have a plan. How would you then structure the plan for someone who's like, okay, right, you're telling me how to have a plan. What do I do?
Yeah. Look, it's going to come down to the individual. And I think something, when I'm programming for my clients getting back into the gyms, a huge factor is how active they've been during isolation. So, it's been a huge variety. You've got people who are working out every day, however they can. Some people have pretty impressive gym setups at home these days, or they manage to find some equipment. So for those kind of people, you probably don't have to change the plan a huge amount. What you're probably going to want to look at is doing some of the steps that we're going to talk about in a second, where you're just kind of making sure that you're scaling the intensity back to where your current level is.
Okay.
If you're one of those people who's gotten a little bit couch potato over the time, has taken the isolation a little bit seriously and probably not left the house or couch more than you should, then for you, it's going to be really important to really pull back your expectation. Just ease yourself back into it. But I would recommend kind of using the first few sessions back as more of a way of just getting back in touch with your body. I know this, like, you'll go through this as well, but I mean, the first time you get under a barbell, you might not even want to look at barbells for your first session back. You might want to still keep doing some body weight exercises. But just having a play with a few of those exercises and just relinking the mind to the body and getting comfortable back in that gym space.
So, okay, some people are going to be thinking like, oh, should I just hop on straight to, say, the treadmill? Some people I have a feeling that a lot of people will go and, I just need to go and do cardio, or they need to go and do more HIIT at the gym, or they're going to jump into classes. Do you think that would be a good plan to start off with?
Absolutely not, to be honest.
Okay. Why?
The biggest thing, especially after you've taken a break, this has also played with the mindset for a lot of people, because I mean, we always, like, a lot of people will beat themselves up after like a 1 week break from the gym or something like that, or they'll have to force themselves to get back into it. Now we're in a position where we're actually really enthusiastic to get back into the gym. I don't think anyone's ever been so excited to get back into training, right? And the best way to make progress forward is part of having a plan means you actually need to have an idea of where you want to be in a month or 2 months from now.
Okay.
And I think that's really important for a lot of people is to picture kind of why they're getting back into fitness. Is it just because you want to move and you want to sweat and you want to feel like you're doing something, or do you want to actually make progress? And if your goal is to make progress, whether you want to lose fat or you want to build some muscle, getting under some weight is going to be the most efficient way to do that. But you do need to start light. You do need to get your body conditioned to that so that you can then, progress over the next few months and end up in a good spot. I would recommend. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Wait, you're saying you recommend?
I'd recommend probably start, especially for the first few weeks, looking at kind of whole body workouts. I don't know how many, gym rats and gym bros and gym gals listen to the podcast, but if you were doing chest day before, if you get back into the gym and you do chest day straight off the bat, you're going to be debilitated. Like, you're not going to be able to move. So I think for majority of the population, especially the first few sessions back, you're probably best looking at like a whole body program, or at least 2 or 3 body parts, and just easing into that, because we know the first 2 sessions will absolutely write you off. You'll be so sore you can't move, but we actually don't want that. That's not a good sign. So your job is to get back into it, but get back in a way that's actually going to make you more motivated to come back the second week and the third week, rather than getting stuck on the toilet for all of the first week and then maybe crawling back into the gym next Monday. If you've been training hard in isolation anyway, then of course you can go back to, maybe a push and pull and legs program or something like that. But, obviously if you're starting from scratch and you haven't really been doing much, whole body's, like I said, just a pretty good way to start to ease back into it. Okay. I think the other thing from here is just basically to look at starting light. Okay. Now, I want to say that, but I want to explain that a little bit more, because it's all well and good to say, okay, we'll just start light, right? We know, especially the gym bros hear that all the time, but it clearly doesn't actually sink in. Okay. So what does starting light actually mean? And there's a couple of reasons that I want to try and basically pitch or sell the concept of starting light to people. And so first of all, there's 2 ways you can really start light. And what we mean by that is you're just trying to basically cut down how much stress you're putting the body under. Okay. So putting the body under, you can actually start light by decreasing the weight. Okay, so that's the most, when we talk about that, that's the most traditional way of thinking about it. We can actually start using a lighter weight. Or there's another concept, which is reps in reserve. Have you heard the term before?
Oh, no, that's okay. Teach me. Enlighten me.
Cool. So just really simply, it's a term that gets thrown around in studies and that kind of thing. But reps in reserve is a really simple way of just saying, well, how many more reps do you have in the tank?
Oh.
Okay. So if you had 2 reps in reserve, and you're trying to do a set of 10, then you're going to leave 2 reps in the tank. You're only going to do 8. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay. So it's not full. It's like you're saying go to the full failure. Is that what you're trying to say?
If you said if you went 0 reps in reserve, that would be complete failure. You can't do another rep. Okay. If you're going 2 reps in reserve, then you're probably stopping when you've got another 2 good reps with perfect form left.
Right. Okay. So we should keep it at the reps in reserve. That means, say, for example, if I can do 10, but I shy it away from the 10 and just go until 8. Is that correct?
Yes. And so it's a different tool, and it's just a way of measuring feedback. Okay. It's not right. It's not wrong. But it's just a way of keeping an eye on how much you're actually pushing yourself. So, you might want to, I would recommend looking at the first couple of sessions back, maybe even 2 to 4 reps in reserve. Okay. Because that's going to be enough to still stimulate some muscle to start to get your body used to training again. But it's going to be enough to create a change without probably walking away from not being able to move.
Right. And the purpose for the reps in reserve and starting light?
Yeah, it's just a way of basically taking down the intensity a little bit. So instead of pushing to failure, instead of going as hard as you can, you're actually going, okay, well, I'm still going to train pretty hard, but I'm going to stop when my form is good, before anything, starts to go a little bit wiry, or before I'm at injury risk.
Right. Okay. And this is a great point because this is it's like warming up a car. You start the engine, you rev it up. So this is kind of like also how you do it with your body.
The third step, just to dial it back, and again, remember that progression is our goal here. So while we said start light, and that can be reducing the weight a little bit,
Okay.
or it can be keeping a few more good quality reps in the tank. But remember that when we're thinking about this, we're thinking about, okay, well, not what you can do today, because no one cares what you can do today. We're all going to be weak getting back in the gym, right? But what you can do, like I said, a month or two from now. So I know a lot of people are going to really struggle to hold themselves back in their first session, or to train a little bit lighter in the first session, because they want to get back to it quickly.
Right.
But the surprise is, the more you can kind of hold yourself back at the start, the more potential you actually give yourself to grow into later. So if you get back in the gym and you max out on your first day, well, then what? You're sore, but you have to go more than your max tomorrow. And it doesn't work like that, right? We want to give your body time to adapt. So if you can hold yourself back a little bit for those first sessions and just give yourself time to grow and progress, then over a second week, over the third week, up to the second month or so, you'll actually be surprised with how quickly you can actually get to the same, as strong as you were before, or actually better than you were before. I think that's something that people are going to overlook getting back into the gym, is they want to get back to where they were. But that's not what we want. We want to get you better than you were before. And that actually takes a little bit longer term vision.
Right. And I like how when you start this off, it's almost like a stimulus, because you're saying hold yourself back. I don't know how it works in the brain, but it almost sounds like it theoretically in my head, because you're already stimulating that thought process, like, yeah, I'm holding back, but I know I can do more. And maybe that thought process can actually give the motivation to actually do better in, say, that long-term vision that you have for, say, maybe, I don't know, like 3 weeks from starting today of doing the training that you plan for yourself. Would that be correct?
Yeah, and this is something that a lot of coaches, will actually do for their clients. A good coach will do for their client. And if you go, okay, well, you used to bench, I don't know, 100 kilos. You used to squat 100 kilos.
Yeah.
You can actually look at kind of reverse engineering that process and going, okay, well, if a month from now we want to get you back to squatting 100 kilos, then, 3 weeks from now, maybe we should look at you squatting 90. And 2 weeks from now, we can have you squatting 80. Like, I'm just making up those numbers.
Yeah.
But, you can look at where they are or where they want to be and look at bringing that back. And so that's something that clients can even do for themselves and go, okay, well, if I used to do this weight, I don't want to try and do this weight as soon as I get back into the gym. I probably want to start a few steps before that.
Okay.
And it's really easy to do that in theory. But then actually holding yourself accountable to that and going, okay, no, I made this plan, or my coach wrote me this plan. I trust my coach. I'm going to follow this system. And I think most people will actually be surprised with how quickly they start making progress, or how quickly they get back to where they were before.
Step 1, have a plan. Step 2, start light. Step 3, focus on progression. So hold yourself back. And now step 4. What's step 4, Braden?
Leave your ego at the door.
Oh, tough.
Now, this one in theory is just a quick point, because it kind of ties into all the other points, right? If you've got a plan, if you're, and maybe holding yourself back isn't the right term, but it's just accepting where you are, in that, you're a little bit detrained, we're a little bit, unconditioned. So it's going into the gym with realistic expectations to move an appropriate amount of weight, right? We don't want to risk injury. So have a plan, start at an appropriate difficulty, focus on progression. And if you're doing all of those, in theory, we shouldn't have too many problems with your ego. But as we all know, I'm sure, none of us have problems with our ego, obviously, but I'm sure we all have, coworkers or, in-law relatives or something, and they might have a problem with their ego. So for everyone else, it's really important to go back into that, again, looking at that long-term vision. Okay, we don't have to do anything now. You're not going to impress anyone in the gym with how much weight you're lifting. Just be sensible and look at that long-term plan.
I think that's the main thing. You don't have to impress anybody at all. Seriously, you don't. Do not worry. No one's looking at you. No one's wondering how much you can lift. If they do, please don't talk to them. I don't think it's relevant. Okay. Yeah, so leave your ego out the door is step number 4. Great. And then step 5.
Tip 5, so just don't get greedy. And this kind of ties into the other ones, but we're not looking at what you can lift now. It's more about looking at, even 6 months down the line. I'm sure we've all got some of those long-term goals.
Yeah.
Some of us may have put on some weight over isolation, or we may feel like we've lost some muscle, but there's a lot that goes on inside the body when you stop lifting weights. And so as soon as we pick up a weight again, your body will start to adapt quite quickly. And so I know for myself, kind of for the first probably 2 months of isolation, I didn't really see much change in my body. I was still training. I didn't really see a lot of change. And then over the last couple of weeks, I've probably started to see myself get a little bit softer. My abs aren't there as much. Like I just don't look as chiseled, right? But a lot of that is actually what's happening from a cellular level. We've got shifting of kind of how your body stores glycogen, salt doing different things. You just probably don't look as good in the mirror, okay? But it's really important not to look at that and go, well, I'm starting again from zero. You're not. You're just detrained. And if you follow the system and you actually get back into lifting weights and you do get back into some good habits, over 3-4 weeks, into 2 months, you'll start to get back to where you expected to be. And we actually want to start looking at now, well, let's look a year or 2 years down the track. A lot of people listening to this probably had goals for where they wanted to be at the end of the year. I know everything that's happened this year, especially in Australia, it's been crazy, like with the fires as well. So a lot of people have lost that 1 or 2 year vision. But just because this has all gone on, we don't want to start getting greedy and go, oh, well, I need to really push myself for the last 6 months of the year. We actually want to look at, okay, well, where are you going to be 2021? Where are you going to be 2022? And making sure that your habits and lifestyles are actually setting yourself up for that long-term success.
The word is habits. The habits you do today is the things that's going to be the one making you and giving you the results for whatever it is that you have. Love that. That was a really good tip 5. Now, what about tip 6? I don't quite get this one. I was looking at your notes.
Okay, this one could also tie in with the leave the ego at the door. There will be, I'll go through. So I'll go through the guys generally version, and then we can talk about some of the females. Okay.
Okay. Sure.
So no post fatigue and set intensification methods. So how we said leave, those are a bit more of the technical terms, right? We said leaving a few reps in the tank or making sure that you're only pushing to perfect form.
Right.
Do not push to complete muscular failure if you haven't been training. Okay? Don't smash yourself. Don't go in and so post-fatigue methods is things like your drop sets. So for anyone who doesn't know, you'll do your 10 bicep curls with as heavy weight as you can, and then as soon as you can't do another rep, you'll put it down and you'll grab the 8s and you'll do as many bicep curls as you can. You'll put it down. Guys are shockers for this, where they'll start at one end of the dumbbell rack and work their way down to the bottom.
Right.
Okay. It's not a very good way to make progress in the short term. B, it's a really good way to make sure you don't make progress in the long term, because you're not trying to actually adapt. You're just trying to smash yourself. But I know a lot of people do that stuff anyway, but especially going back into the gym, people are going to feel like they want to catch up. After a few weeks, they'll start getting a good pump again. They'll just want to pump up their ego, and they'll start moving into some of these more extreme methods. My message would be, you need to earn those. You need to be training hard for a consistent amount of time before your body will actually adapt to that. So if you've taken a month off the gym or 3 months off the gym, don't expect yourself to deserve a drop set. Just train hard, but also don't necessarily think that you need to drag yourself out of the gym for that to be a successful workout.
Right.
And that's from the guys' side of things. Now, females do this a lot too, but they're a lot sneakier about it. Okay?
Oh, okay.
So we all look at the guys doing the dumbbell curls this far from the mirror, like looking at their faces and doing, curls just taking up the whole space, right? But what females do is often just as bad. And they'll do a workout where they're just jumping around constantly, getting a sweat on, but their form goes out the window. You know, you've seen it before. People do jump lunges and they can barely catch themselves from, they're barely stopping themselves from dropping to the ground. Their form's gone out the window. That's already what we call a post-fatigue, right? Their form's gone. They're pushing themselves past the point of good form, past the point of fatigue. And then they'll do something like put on a booty band and do 200 reps of leg waves.
I can't help but laugh. I can't help but laugh. Yeah, okay, I get you. I get where the reality is sitting in, okay?
So girls sitting there just banging out these leg waves against bands is just as bad as the guy with his hat on backwards doing bicep curls in front of the mirror.
Okay.
She just doesn't take up as much space. She's probably less likely to have one of her bros filming it, so we don't notice it as much, right?
Okay, it's either the bro or it's the girlfriend that's from the side. Okay, girl, you got this. Come on,
exactly.
Bit more on the glute bridge. Let's go hip thrust it.
A few more of these.
Okay, so okay. Now coming to the sneaky part, how is that bad for the girls? Because we got to address that. How is that bad?
Yeah, cool. And with that, we've also got, so some of the females will also do it with cardio. So that's a really important thing as well. I'm going to put that in this category as well of doing a really hard workout and then feeling like that you have to finish that workout by jumping on a treadmill. I should say a term that a lot of people use, in your fitness magazines, will call these kinds of things finishers, right? Just that might be the term that people have heard it with a little bit more. So whether that's treadmill, whether that's booty bands, whether that's lateral raises or drop sets past failure. And the reason it's bad is because, again, we never want to try and force the body to adapt. The body is smarter than us. And this is something that we spend a lot of time trying to educate our clients on here at Australian Strength Performance, is that your job is not to force your body to do your will. You're trying to work with your body to actually teach it, to give it the stimulus to actually adapt to. And that's how you make short-term progress. That's how you make long-term progress. And it's how you actually get a healthy and well-functioning body through that process. So if you're getting to the end of the workout and you're feeling like you need to do 100 reps of a booty band to try and force your butt to grow, it doesn't work like that, right?
Oh, I just have to put out, ladies, okay, Braden over here is kind of known as the booty man at ASP because to be honest, if you go and check out his Instagram feed, he's got a very well-rounded booty, and I say that with full respect, Braden. Full respect.
I actually noticed that's why I know I need to get back into the gym, because I've been
You're losing booty gains?
weeks, I had to start wearing a belt and pulling up my pants when I went for a walk to get coffee, and it's been a long time since that's a problem. So I'm ready to get back under the squat bar now.
I feel you. And I love what you said. Okay, let me see if I can get this as a quote. It's such a great line. You said, teach your body not to go against your will. Was that what you were saying?
Yeah. It's all about,
so good. Yeah.
It's all about adaptation. Yeah. You want to work with your body, not against it.
Work with your body, not against it. Everybody, please remember that. It's such a great line. What I wanted to add on was when you were saying, okay, you may not look as chiseled in the mirror, and that's where people have to accept where they're at, acceptance, and then seeing how they can improve. Learn how to accept and learn how to trust the process.
Absolutely.
What's tip number 7?
All right, so the one I put in here was train the shortened position. Now, this one we're just going to go over quickly. I'm looking at doing a few more videos about this, and I've got a few posts on this on my Instagram because it is a big topic. So if anyone wants to send me a message on Instagram, I'm more than happy to spend some time kind of going into this a little bit deeper. And myself or the Instagram, the Train ASP, Australian Strength Performance Instagram, we can go into this a little bit deeper. But when you're selecting exercises, certain exercises are going to hit certain parts of the movement. Okay. So if we look at two exercises that people may know, we've got a hamstring curl, a prone hamstring curl. Okay. So you're lying down on your stomach on the machine, and then you're curling up the weight and hitting your hamstrings at the back of your legs.
Yes.
Okay. Now that exercise puts the hamstrings in a shortened position.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
If we compare that with something like a Romanian deadlift, which might be an exercise that people know. Okay.
Right.
What if I ask you a Romanian deadlift, what's the number one thing you kind of think of? Or like if you were doing a Romanian deadlift, what are you thinking about when you're doing it?
Hamstrings and glutes for me.
Yep. And taking them through a big range, right? You're trying to stretch the hamstrings quite a lot through that movement.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, out of those two movements, the Romanian deadlift is usually going to leave people a lot more sore the next day. If people haven't done Romanian deadlifts before, or they haven't done them for a while, and you put them through a reasonable amount of weight, or you start pushing them hard on that, they are going to be really sore over the next few days.
Okay.
If we look at, in a few exercises, examples that people might know, we've got something like a dumbbell press or a push-up. Okay. Now, those aren't necessarily going to load the shortened position, but those are exercises that you can do and you'll get some soreness from. But if we look at like a dumbbell fly, where your arms are straight and you're really stretching out the muscle, that's going to lead you to be really, really sore over the next few days.
Okay. So overstretching, lengthening of the muscle.
Yes. So it's a little bit more technical than that, but as a general rule, you're probably going to want to look at exercises that don't take the muscles through extreme ranges of motion.
Okay. So
now,
not
this is
just
quite, this is a little bit counterintuitive because we do want to stretch a muscle in order to make it grow, right? And Ben would have talked to you before about how large range of motion is really good for muscles.
Yes.
However, if you haven't trained for a while and you suddenly start taking the muscles through these really extreme ranges, dumbbell flies, big stretch, you're taking Romanian deadlifts through a big stretch, those are exercises you're going to either want to do really light, or you're probably going to want to wait a few weeks before you start, or maybe your second program, before you start bringing them back into your exercise regime.
Okay. So for example, instead of doing Romanian deadlifts, go and do hamstring curls instead, just to let the muscles get used to it before going for that heavy load with a very big range of motion.
Yes. And even if you wanted to keep it still on a barbell, if you wanted to still keep a compound exercise, even something like a deadlift, you're going to pull up sore. Like we all know, you pull up pretty sore after a hard session of deadlifts.
Yeah.
But you're not going to stretch the muscle to the same extreme. You're probably not going to pull up quite as sore. So again, it comes down to the individual. And obviously, the more advanced someone is, the more they're going to be able to get back into pretty well. If they're confident in Romanian deadlifts, they probably won't have too many problems. But it might just be something to keep aware of, as we want to stretch the muscles, yes, but take it easy. Don't start forcing your body through a range of motion that it hasn't done in 3 months, and expect yourself to just be able to walk around and go up and down stairs without any problems the next day.
Yeah. So I think the tips that you gave 7 already, Braden, really, really good. I think this will apply for a person who's just starting out and for those who have been consistent in training. So I think the first thing I'll say to both parties, beginner and also those who've been training, calm down. It's okay. Take your time and remember to start off easing into your workout regime again. Don't need to go like a full-on beast mode into everything at the gym. Not necessary. Ease it in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
I'll also add on your body, as Braden mentioned, your body is smart and your body adapts. Your body will also remember. It has muscle memory. So do not worry that you've gone straight from thinking that you've gone to zero. No, your body will
Mm.
remember. And actually, just to share my thing as well, when I started getting onto a program by Ben again, I was like, oh my gosh, everything is so hard. But after like give it 3, 4 days, give it a week, I'll say, give it a
Mm.
week. That's when my body started to
Yep.
go like, nope, you're used to this, you're okay. And then for me, that's when I started to see some slight physical changes already. But that was because I was back to just getting on with the ball rolling. So
Mm.
don't worry, people. Your body will know. This is where the relationship you build with your body, teaching it for you to understand it. Let's just summarize again. So first one is starting off a plan. And then tip number 2, start light. Tip 3, focus on progression. And then tip 4, leave the ego out the door. Tip 5, don't get greedy. Tip 6, no post fatigue, so no 200 and 1,000 booty band
Mm.
clamshells. And
Basically,
then,
no beast mode.
yes, and tip 7, train the shortened position. Okay. How would you put that in layman terms, though?
I guess the best way to look at it is just, I guess, selecting appropriate movements for what you've been doing. If you've been sitting on the couch, one of the main reasons that a lot of people hurt themselves during isolation is they went from sitting on the couch to trying to run 10 kilometers,
Mm, mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
Look at exercises to challenge your body. But if you haven't been, if you've been on the couch for the last 3 months, don't expect to get back under a squat bar and squat with perfect form. Just choose exercises that feel good and exercises that start to challenge you, and you can progress from there. The similar concepts, like how technical you want to get with it, depends on your level of training, but it still applies with everything else. Have a plan and give yourself time to get back into the movements that you used to do. Don't think just because you used to go out there and you used to be able to do a Romanian deadlift with 40 kilos, or you used to be able to squat 100 kilos, that you're necessarily going to feel good getting back onto a barbell or under a squat rack, under a squat bar.
Nice. Cool. Any other last things? And also, where can people find you, Braden? I mean, we're close to running out of time already, but that was a great
Yes.
conversation. So, any other last things that you want to add on?
Look, the only other thing I would say, and this has been a message that I've shared with a lot of my clients, is just it's okay to be overwhelmed. I think for a lot of this, there's a lot of people, like yourself and myself, who can't wait to get back into the gym. But I think there is also a lot of people watching this who may not have had a great relationship with the gym before isolation, or they may not feel super comfortable in a gym, or they may even still be a bit weird about everything that's going on in the world. And for people on both sides of that, I'd say just have patience. Like, keep that relationship with your body, keep that relationship with your mindset. I think this is a really important time for people to understand that the gym is actually a gift. We've had this taken away from us, and a lot of people are looking at this as, finally people are giving me back my gym, like that the government ripped away from me. And you're like, well, a lot of people don't have access to a gym. We're actually in a really privileged position, and hopefully people can look at this as a chance to actually be excited about training and about exciting, to build their relationship with their body, and actually make some progress. So,
Love
yeah.
that. The gym is a gift, guys. It is. So be grateful that we actually can get to train in one. And now, okay, if you want to find out more and you want to ask Braden questions, please do go find him. This is the time, Braden. Go ahead, pimp yourself out. Where can people find you?
Head over to on Instagram. The Australian Strength Performance Instagram is TrainASP. You can find me on pretty much every social media platform that exists at
Yeah.
Coach CAD. So I'm sure Linora will chuck it down the bottom somewhere. But Coach CAD, I'm quite active on Instagram. I'm doing a lot of stuff on YouTube. If you've got any questions, give me a follow. Ask me questions on there. And I'm really working hard to try and put out really useful content. So if I get a lot of people asking me similar questions, it gives me an idea of how I can actually give back some value and help you guys out. So I know Lenora's been putting up some amazing content. So if you guys have anything, want my take on some stuff, or you want to deep dive on anything, then feel free to head along there and get in touch.
Yeah, we'll go in as far as talking about tapeworms.
There's
Okay.
a few niche topics in there, yeah.
Yes. Well, go and check out Braden. Like he said, he's on a lot of social media platforms. In fact, you're even starting stuff on Twitch. That's another platform, to be honest, I have not ventured into. But yeah, go find him on Twitch and go check out his YouTube channel. All the links will be in the description below. Braden, really good to be chatting with you again. I've not seen you for over a year. I really hope I get to get myself back to Australia and have a great time opening up the gym.
Thank you. We've been missing you at the center, but I'm sure you've been missing us too. So it won't be long for you're back here, I'm sure.
Yeah, you're just missing the noise. Lenora's like,
It's been a little quiet over here, so we're due for some Linora action.
oh, definitely. I would love to come back and make a lot of noise. Guys, go and check out Train ASP if you happen to be in Australia. It's in Melbourne. Braden, I want to say thank you so much for doing this with me. And I really miss all of you guys in Australia. For anyone who's watching, do comment below what the takeaways that you got from this video, and do share it to your friends who are heading back into the gym. And I know everyone's excited, but these are just some things to keep in mind before you go hard on under a bar or putting on those heavy plates at the gym. So drop a comment, and if you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up because it's going to help us a lot and encourage me to put out more content for you guys. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, click that bell for notifications. And as always, Braden, you're going to do this with me. Okay, it's my closing, all right? Everyone, stay safe, stay blessed, and be smart at the gym. May the gains, you got to do this, do the gun show, Braden. May the gains be forever in your favor. So now we give one kiss, and then touch the bicep, touch the heart,
Yep.
and then close the camera. So you close it.
And
And close.